Welcome to the Meetings Podcast, the meeting organizer's podcast source for what's new in the meetings and events industry. Meetings Podcast is a conversation with a variety of voices that looks at events, meetings, and media. Meetings Podcast is sponsored by IMEX America, America's worldwide exhibition for incentive travel, meetings, and events.
Hey, podcast listeners. This is Mike. Today's show is brought to you by IMEX America and also by Audible.com. Audibletrial.com /meetings podcast is where you can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. Check it out. There's 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. So check that out. Let's get right into the show. Today's show has Jaime Smith from Bartha. Jaime and I are friends, and she's a pretty cool cat. If you go to any of the industry conferences, you'll probably see Jaime, and you'll probably know Jaime. So let's get into the interview, and I appreciate you listening. Thank you so much. Welcome back to the Meetings Podcast. This is Mike McAllen from Grass Shack Events and Media, and today we have Jaime Smith. Hi, Jaime.
Hello, hello.
You are with Bartha, and it's just Bartha. It's not Bartha AV.
Correct. Yes. It's gone through several name changes over the past 70 years, but we're Bartha.
Okay, so you joined Bartha in July 2012, serving as Director of National Business Development and focusing on developing new business throughout the United States. You came to Bartha with over 10 years of experience in special event production. You began at Indiana Youth Institute as a tech wizard. You advanced your skills in information technology, business logistics, and meeting planning. In the 11 years with the Indiana Youth Institute, Jaime grew with the organization as the business manager to project manager of business and information technology, and finally to the director of operations. You have won all sorts of awards from MPI, and you were named Collaborates Magazine 2013 40 Under 40 honoree. Jaime is working with Bartha as they begin their 70th year. Okay,
yeah.
That's kind of a good. Do you want me to read all? You've won all sorts of awards.
Oh,
I mean, like a ton. Do you? This is only like
a 30-minute.
Like a 30-minute podcast, so we don't have enough time to read all of these. So that's really cool. You've done a lot of cool stuff.
Thank you.
And so you've been with them 2012, 13, 14, 15, 3.5 years. Nice.
Yeah.
I think when I first met you that you had just got started working there.
You're
when I first met you.
Yes, when we met at IMEX, and I hugged you thinking I knew you.
Yeah, that was so cool. I was all like, wow, I like her. Like walking through. I thought it was at PCMA. Was it at IMEX?
I thought it was
somewhere, but it was very funny because you ran up and hugged me, which
I totally did.
I mean, that happens to me all the time, so it's not really a big deal when a pretty woman runs up and grabs and hugs me.
Yes, it's just your thing.
And you're also...
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say you connected with me on LinkedIn, so I knew you. I mean, come on.
Wow. You are good. You're a good business development person. I have to give you that. And so you are Sunshine in a Room, I remember too.
Yes, thank you.
And is that your nickname, or what did that come from?
It's not. I have actually several nicknames, but my now best friend, all good, I think. But no, actually, a friend of mine who I used to work with at IYI, who's grown to be my best friend, kind of nicknamed me that to an extent. I mean, I think she calls a lot of people Sunshine when she talks to them, but
right.
She's like, you are sunshine in a room. So, when you learn all the LinkedIn tips and tricks, that's my little tagline.
Very
and
cool.
It's perfect because not that the audio people can hear, or see, but my yellow office.
Oh, it is yellow. Yeah.
Sunshine. Yeah.
Very nice. And where are you right now?
So I'm in my home office. I live in Greenwood, Indiana.
Very cool.
It's one of my rooms. Yeah.
And how's the weather out there? Is it holding up?
It's holding up. We did not get hit with the weather, the storm that hit the East Coast. I'm grateful considering the last 2 winters in Indiana. I'm over this the cold winter and snows. So it's warming up, about 30s.
Nice.
Heat wave.
And here in California, it has been raining, which has been fantastic. And that's hence the flood that if people are listening, we were supposed to meet a while ago, but my office flooded the basement. And so I had to fix that.
Yeah, not fun.
And thank you very much for waiting
all
this time.
No
okay,
worries.
So let's get right into it. Why don't you tell me your favorite quote?
So my favorite quote is, I don't even know if it's technically a quote, but it's live, laugh, love, and be happy. And honestly, it came from, I actually have it up here on my monitor. It came from a card back in the day when I worked at Indiana Youth Institute. And I just liked it. And even though most people see me as sunshine in the room or positive, it's a constant struggle. So in addition to having that, then it was kind of my mother's favorite thing. So it's sadly on her tombstone. We lost her back in 2012. And you know, when you lose someone to suicide, you kind of try and keep something like that in the radar. So it's kind of nice. I mean, I have it up there and it's a constant,
So it's
goal.
live, laugh, love, and be happy.
Correct. Yeah. And I actually have a picture frame on my nightstand that has that tagline, and it has her and I with lampshades on our heads. So it's just, something to keep in mind. Simple.
Well, I'm sorry about losing her.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that sucks. I lost my dad a while back too, which was horrible. But
yeah.
So how did you get into this career path? What made you get into the audio visual? Well, you were in technology. I kind of read that already. That's kind of a question. But tell me about your path on how what you went to school for, and then how you got into this.
So I went to University of Indianapolis and was actually a theater major. So I should be, in your area, in the movies. Not there. But I had a minor in information systems, information technology. And I started with Indiana Youth Institute as a quote unquote tech wizard, which turned into a consulting based position. Mm-hmm. And then, that's a consulting based position, and I like stability and money. And so when they offered me the opportunity to switch over and help the business director, business admin, who was away for a while, I stepped in and kind of grew with the company. I think they hit their 25th year a couple of years ago. So it wasn't necessarily new, but grew with them, became, as you mentioned, director of operations in the end by taking on the business development side, not business development, but the business admin work. So working with all the vendors that kind of migrated into doing our annual conference. So we had, back then, about a 300-person half-day conference. And by the time I left, we were at 1,500 2.5 days. So I planned and ran logistics and made it happen with, of course, my staff members and team members at the office, but then also doing IT for the company. I mean, 3.5 hats at a nonprofit is, especially for 11 years, is not unheard of. Mm-hmm. And then I hired Bartha to do our conference, our AV for the breakouts and the general session. Worked with them for 4 years. And then, as I like to say, they stole me away to the dark side. So.
That happens a lot, it seems like.
I think it's a good way to go. I wasn't looking. It was a good time to switch, change, get a little new challenge. Never thought I was in sales, literally in denial for the first 6 months that I was in sales. Mm-hmm. Just because it's a dirty word, car salesman type thing. But I accepted, and then not a week later, this has nothing to do with it, but that's when I lost my mother. So timing was actually ironic and good. Everything kind of happens for a reason, I guess. So the process of switching over and kind of drinking from the fire hose with new contacts and, trying to figure out my way was good. And so now I'm just, still at it, loving it. I'm traveling and meeting new people and staying in touch and learning, constantly learning new things about the environment. And yeah. So
it's like when you are a theater major, you are involved in sort of in the meetings, events, AV sort of thing.
Absolutely. Well, and truth be told, I always wanted to be on the front side of it. So on the stage and, acting. but I was really good at project management and being the producer and the stage manager and doing all that, which kind of really is meeting planning. So, and now I just have in my opinion, the personality to be able to tie it all together, and if it fits, bring in the new business.
Yeah, and sales isn't a dirty word, really. I mean,
Right.
somebody's got to do it. You got to get out there. You got to get out there and find the people and get the people together. With
Exactly.
Bartha. So, I mean, I know I have the same thing because I do sales for my own company, and it's like it's kind of what I do. It's like once you get the business, then you're like, oh, I got to do this now. That the game is getting the job. It's like, oh no, now I have to do it. Like you win it. Like but anyway, I mean, I
think everybody is a salesperson. You're selling yourself all the time.
You have
hopefully
to be
in the right way.
You have to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's been the biggest challenge for this jump over?
Absolutely. So honestly, it's we're working remote. I mean, not so much in the thing that you would think of not being motivated. So I'm definitely way too motivated. Type A, type upholder person who, does what she needs to do. But it's the communication with my team members. So it's the process that's ever growing and ever, evolving to stay in touch with my team and get the right collaboration and staying connected is honestly the harder thing.
What do you guys use to stay connected? Do you use like Slack or Skype or?
No, not really. I mean, telephone is honestly the best way. I mean, email naturally, or case of email, but I do head to the office at least twice a month. So I am in the office when especially if there's a meeting or of some sort that needs to be more face to face, but you kind of are left out. And even though I'm able to bring in new business and work my side of it, it's nice to know what's going on in the office, and being remote, you're kind of once removed. You know what I mean?
I do.
So
I know I've
that would
worked on
probably be the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I've worked on my own now for a long time, about 13 years. And I used to love working in the office. Like I loved it, except I would spend all my time chatting with people. So I still remember I was running the production department at my old company, and I would sit in all morning. People would just come in one after the other with their coffee and sit down, and I'd sit back and chat like,
Yes.
It was funny thinking how much more work I'd have done now than I did then.
Oh my gosh. When I plan to go to the office, I have to literally say, okay, you're not going to get anything done, but I mean, you are getting something done. You're learning, you're staying connected, that kind of thing. But I don't really miss the small talk. I feel like I get that when I'm at conferences and I'm meeting people and talking, and I can kind of step back and do my own thing. And I'm not sure. I think again, the whole transition, the timing of everything, I think it's better that I work from home. So yeah.
All right. So when did you know that this was the right decision? Was there an aha moment to say
So back when I was at IYI, so Indiana Youth Institute, short is IYI, the days of the conference, doing all the logistics and all the details, I'm definitely like the detail-oriented, loving all that, not really data, but just, checking things off my list. And the days of the conference when, everybody's running around and fires are happening, I'm able to stay calm and just one after the other, just take things, as they come and make it fit and work. And realizing that I'd say probably 3 years into doing the conference, I realized that was my favorite part. And I was able to join MPI back in 2005. And I just knew that aspect of it. I mean, I had, like I mentioned, three and a half other jobs, IT and, dealing with all the marketing and all that other stuff. That was my favorite part. And joining MPI and then learning that there was a local chapter, because I kind of went backwards and went to the national conference. Loved it and knew I wanted to get my CMP and stay in this side of it, which is kind of odd switching over to Bartha. I would always have thought that I would have stayed in the planning side of things, but I get enough of it with some of the associations I'm involved with to be able to plan on the side, if you will, help out and, kind of get my feet wet.
And do you belong to other associations besides MPI, and are you active still now?
Yes. So MPI was actually the only one I was involved with back when I was with IYI. When I switched over with Bartha, I accumulated a lot others. So PCMA, FICP, the Financial and Insurance Conference Planners. I am with Kiwanis now locally.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Our visit.
You wear a hat and stuff there? Is that a hat?
No, but we do sing on Friday.
Oh, that's fun.
Which is a little odd. So they have like downtown meetings, and I'm involved, of course, with U of ND. Not that I did it in high school, or excuse me, college, or even high school, because I didn't really know about Kiwanis. It's the old man's club, but we're trying to make it a little younger now. So so I'm involved in quite a few things.
Nice, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you take us through what you do? Actually, what Bartha does too. Why don't you just talk about what you do? Maybe take us through the process of your sales through the whole show afterwards, or
starting with me, I travel to conferences, as I mentioned. Just got back from the Vancouver PCMA CMACL Community Leaders Conference, and I just meet people. Try to meet, coordinate beforehand, but then actually meeting people and staying in touch with them. So, of course, coming back, doing my due diligence as far as staying in touch with them via U.S. mail and email and postcards and LinkedIn and however I can. And when it's the right fit, if they're ready to send us an RFP or look at our options as far as a proposal, we'll bring that in-house. And I actually coordinate, and this is where I was talking as far as the challenges sometimes, is I coordinate with several team members over at the headquarter office, and we get an account manager that is going to be my go-to person to do the work on the proposal. And then nurturing that relationship until they sign the contract. And then once the contract happens, they're turned completely over to that account manager. So I'm still in the background. And if there's some follow-up or some, hey, I need to light a fire, and I stay in touch, don't get me wrong. And then the account manager works with the production side of the team over in Ohio, and they make it happen. So they work into what extent that client needs. So it could be just breakouts or just in a keynote room, or it could be from start to finish on the creativity. Bartha is a full-on production company. So as I mentioned, we're in our 70th year. About 10 years ago, we turned into a full-on production company. So we have the creative team members, the content developers that can help the planner or whoever is involved on the client side of it to, work on PowerPoints or give them a template of some sort, or, script, or, to that minute detail all the way through to the production. So we own our own equipment, and it's our technicians that are, the equipment's trucked out to wherever the event is, and our technicians are flown out or driven out wherever, depending upon where the actual or piece is, and they set up the gear. They run it, they tear it down, bring it back home, maintain it, and the cycle continues. So
very cool. Very, very cool. So where do you see it going in the future? Do you think it sounds like it's already evolved into being a production company also, besides an audiovisual company? Do you see it doing something else?
Well, we definitely are still growing, and we're working out the kinks of any growing company, So we have the team members in place, and other things. Video creation is a big piece of ours. So we have done interviews and video blurbs and the opening piece that's shown. So I think we'll continue to develop and enhance that side of it, so that our production is continuing to grow, and we're hiring more technicians in all fields, from video to the breakouts. We also have a scenic design area that we create a lot of the sets and staging.
Oh, cool.
So of course the warehouse that houses it, two winters ago we built on or expanded where we are in Columbus, Ohio. So we have, I should know the specs of the warehouse, but it's large, and we have about 10. Yeah, right. It's very large. We have about $10 million worth of equipment that, like I said, we maintain it. And, so I think it's just a matter of probably going toward those bigger shows. We do them now, but sporadically. So we still do a lot of stuff in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, it started in Columbus. So naturally we have a lot of smaller galas and, ceremonies that happen. And not to say we'll get rid of all of them, but I think we'll continue just expanding. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And do you have the one warehouse, or you have it?
We have just the one warehouse in Columbus, Ohio. Yep. There's no equipment here in my office. So, but we're only 3 hours away. Kind of the reason they hired me.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, I've used companies. One of the main guys that I use is in North Carolina, and he trucks it everywhere.
Right.
So it's just and I'm in California, so you can see.
Yeah.
So are you struggling with anything in your professional life or even personal life with this? You kind of already said.
Already said, but I guess, tying in with my little quote, just constantly trying to make it one day at a time with grace. So, yeah.
Okay.
Keep growing on myself, becoming a better person every day.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
All right. So let me ask you a few questions about you. Take me through a typical day. Do you have any morning rituals, food, exercise, kind of regular reading you do on the web, social media, news?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have, as I mentioned, trying to be better for me and take care of me. When I can, I wake up naturally. So no alarm clock, if that works. Not always the case. Definitely not on conference days. But thanks to actually you, what was that? We were back at CNP Conclave last year, and you informed me of a little app called Headspace.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
So I started, and today I hit my 109th consecutive day.
Oh, wow. 109th consecutive day. That's amazing.
I love it. I mean, absolutely love it. I tested that one, and then I tested Calm, another app that has kind of that look. And I stuck with, I don't know, Andy's voice is just awesome. He's just my favorite. But so that has actually really helped me. Kind of calm me down and, get me centered and mellow, if that's possible. I still, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to be all crazy and all over the place. But so I do my Headspace in the morning. And I've been trying to make it to where that's the first thing I do. So after drinking my glass of water, I've been listening to podcasts, which I know you're going to ask me about here shortly, but, trying to just figure out what's better for me. And so I do, the glass of water, and then I do my Headspace, and then I try to get in some sort of exercise. And actually, thanks to a few friends of mine on Facebook who I kind of challenged them, but they kind of challenged me. We now have a Facebook group for some sort of challenge. We started with an ab and squat challenge. So it's like this 30-day thing. You can find any of them online. So doing that, and then kind of holding myself accountable and, helping each other stay motivated, it's actually helped me to get back into working out. So of course, everything, it all stumbles back to after mom, post mom, right? That I used to run a lot. And I'm just now, for the past maybe a year, I've been getting back into running, which I missed, but I wasn't motivated to do. So I do some sort of exercise. And then actually, that's not always the case, right? So sometimes I have to jump into the computer or on the computer and see if there's any dire emails, which, it's not brain science. So, take care of the little things and then come back to it. And my goal, and I think I've been doing very well for the past year, is to stop overdoing it. So as I mentioned, the motivation is way high. I live alone. I don't have dogs or kids or pets or, anything to deal with, to where I work all the time. So I've been trying to back down on that and take time away. So, I kind of put in my time, and then depending upon how the week goes or if I'm traveling, I try to go over fortunately, I have a niece and nephew who are my two little, I'm not cussing, but I call them shits, S-H-I-T-Z. They're my little shits. So Addison is 4 and Noah is 2, and they live 10 minutes away from me. So actually, after the podcast, I'm going to go over and see them because I know I'm not going to see them being over in the office next week. So I try to break up the day to see them at their age, right? They're not going to always be this young. And then if there's other stuff to do or more time to work, then I'll come back and, So I'm trying to focus on me.
That's great.
That's the
And
goal.
what kind of sites do you have any news sites or social media sites that you check in the morning or?
Yeah, I try to slow down, but I do my three: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I don't do Facebook, I think, like I used to. Like the feeds are just obscene. I mean, not obscene in a bad way, but like there's so many.
Yeah,
You can't keep
well, I
up.
know.
But
Yeah.
I do that with Twitter. I feel like I have to, this is my type A coming out. I feel like I have to see everything that's gone through on my Twitter feed. So those three are my biggest ones. And then, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I've tried to cut that way back because it's so distracting,
Yes.
So you mentioned podcasts. Do you have some favorite podcasts that you listen to? It's always fun to get people.
I do, yes. And I love listening to your podcast to hear what other people's podcasts are. So I'm constantly, when I'm like, hey, I think I'm actually obsessed with podcasts. I used to be I still read and I still listen to audiobooks, but I've turned into, catch up on my podcast. So my favorites are Happier with Gretchen Rubin and her sister.
Happier? I've never heard of that.
Happier.
With who?
It's called Gretchen. Her name is Gretchen Rubin, and she actually wrote the book. The one she's most famous for is Better Than Before. And she actually spoke at the third day lunch of PCMA this year in Vancouver. Huh. And it's so funny. So many people didn't know who she was. But of course, I've been following her on Happier. So that's my favorite one. And then, of course, Strangers is another one that I love.
How funny.
Right?
You say, of course. I've never heard of Strangers either. What's that?
That's why I'm bringing up the ones that I know most people don't. She started it to, actually, she was supposed to do Serial. Have you heard of Serial? You know Serial.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows Serial. So that's another one I listen to. But they didn't like her voice. And so she spun off and did another one called Strangers. And it's about like just the people you meet and different stories and how we're all really not strangers. It's kind of like that small world effect thing.
Is she from NPR person? Is she
yes, I think through that. Yeah. And her name's escaping me right now.
Okay.
She hasn't come out in a while, but another great one is the Mental Illness Happy Hour with Paul Gilmartin. Yes.
How funny.
So, I have 20 currently on my radar, but
that's great.
I love them.
To find new ones. I was all into the business ones before, and now I'm sick of those. So now I started listening to, like the Radio Lab and the storytelling ones are kind of fun.
They are, and they kind of, they take you out. And the other one I wanted to mention was On Air with Ella. So kind of like the comment that I said, I'm now drinking a glass of water in the morning. Mm-hmm. Those types of things came from her, and she's not an expert, but she brings in the experts to come talk about whatever.
Fun.
Yeah, so that's another good one too.
On Air with Ella.
On Air with Ella.
The Mental Illness Happy Hour, Serial, Strangers, and Happier.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you. Those are awesome.
You're welcome.
Those are awesome. So what about books? Do you have any books that you gift other people?
None that I really gift. I think back in the day I did The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, which is, kind of evolved to an extent of personalities, so you hear all these sessions and go to these conferences where, they're focusing on knowing your personality and other people's personality in order to talk with them and work with them, kind of like the millennials and all these categories. To know your 5 love languages personally and then what other people's are. So that's a good one. And then the books personally that I'm listening to, of course, the Outlander series when I can. But they're huge. So I have to break it up and, either read a book thanks to Amazon Prime or, whatever.
Yeah, Audible, whatever. Yeah,
Audible. Exactly. So
that's funny, the Outlander thing, because I watched that with my wife, and but we were driving in the car somewhere. She goes, "Oh, do you mind if I listen to the book? I'm part of this book." And this was years ago,
right?
And we're listening, and it was a chapter. I was like, "This is fascinating!" Like, and I'm thinking, it's one of these romance novels. Like, oh god,
no,
but it's like crazy good. It's like Game of Thrones kind of good, huh?
She is an amazing writer. I listened to it, so
yeah.
Like, I'm not all the way through them, and I've watched the show. It's a little literally dark. Like the scene's dark, and Probably doesn't help that I worked while watching it, so you kind of miss out on a few things. But listening to it, there were times when I would be like, wow, I just can't believe the way she forms her sentences, you know,
How
and her
interesting.
words. Yeah, so she's a good author.
I might listen to that. Did you read or listen to the Game of Thrones books?
I did not. Should I do that one?
Well, I mean, I really liked it, but I just,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if you watched the show too, but it's just
I
like,
don't.
interesting. But I was thinking when I was watching that show, I was thinking, wow, it's like, you know, all these books, like a gazillion books. It's very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you listen to music when you work?
Not as much as I used to. I should actually get back to that because I learned that I am missing out. I went for a run, and you know, as I used to listen to my podcast when I ran. I stopped one day a couple weeks ago, and I ran with music, and I was like, "This is the problem. I need my music back in my life." So I love music.
It's kind of the Headspacey thing, you know, like the Headspace app to get out and just listen to music and go. Because I try and do that. I'm reading this book called, oh crap, I can't remember the name of it. It's called Deep Work. It's called Deep Work, and it's about shutting everything else out and really working on one thing. And it's been pretty interesting. Like I leave my phone behind now. Like I went just to go get coffee down the road just this morning. And I was just like, I left my phone at home. And then you're waiting in line and they're like, in the book, it was saying, you need to be bored. You need to be able to stand there and do nothing.
Yes.
You know, to start focusing in because you'll do better work. That's what I'm only a little bit into the book. I'm listening to it also, but it's interesting about like music and stuff. It's like, you know, music can let your mind be free, kind of thing. Right. Anyway, I don't want to get I don't want to get too crunchy here. But okay, so what else do I want to ask you? Music. Do you have a favorite documentary or movie that you're listening to? I mean, that you're listening to that you like.
I like. Nah, I mean, you know, I have my old favorites. I'm a big movie buff, not a big TV girl. But you know, you got to go back to the original, and people are going to laugh. But Speed, you know. Yeah. So, or Weekend at Bernie's.
The Speed, the one of the bus one?
Yeah, the bus.
Oh, the bus, yeah.
I mean, whenever that's on, I got to watch it. So,
somebody said, oh, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Somebody said what?
No, I'm interviewing you. You talk.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. So, love movies. So there's not really, I'm a little behind on my movies, kind of that whole 3.5 years of working for Bartha. My mentality of just go, work. I need to get back to my movies.
Wow. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Who are 3 people you'd like to invite to dinner?
So I thought long and hard about this one, and I can't think of a third person. But I would go back to bring my mother and my boyfriend, who she never met because he's new to the fact that she missed them. She never met him. So I think I would do those 2.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. And did you have a nickname?
Yes. Let's see. I've had several. I had Barbie. I know, right? The long blonde hair in high school, and not like I've never had a nickname that has stuck. Like everybody calls me that. Mm-hmm. That's why I have so many. But like, so Barbie was a few in high school. James, right? So Jamie James, JT. My old president and CEO at IYI called me JT because he didn't want to mess up my spelling of my name, right? I was named after the Bionic Woman, so I've been called Bionica. And then I was told I looked like Jodie Foster, so I got the Jodie. And then a good friend of mine now calls me Jamers, and my favorite is Auntie Mamie. Because my niece couldn't say the J in Jamie, so she called me Mamie.
Oh, that's nice.
Every once in a while, they still call me it now, but I refer to myself as Auntie Mamie when I go over there, so it's kind of comical.
That's great. That's really great.
Yeah.
Really great. So here's a question. Mm-hmm. If I rarely ask this to people, but I think you probably will have an answer, which is funny. Maybe not, but
okay.
If you believe you have one unfair advantage, what would it be and why?
Ooh. So, yeah, I only really got an answer on a personal side. And since this is a personal interview, right?
Yes.
Yes. I went with that. My father is the service manager for Four Winds Resort and Marina because I'm a boater. And so I get like the family discounts and deals. And when I have to drop my boat in at midnight on a Friday night and it doesn't run, he's fixing it, which you can't get anywhere else, right? You have to wait till the next day.
Wow.
So yeah, how's that for a convoluted
That's
answer?
pretty good, though. Oh,
yeah.
hold on a second here. We got a cat in the way. A big cat. Look how big he is.
Oh my gosh.
So for those of you who are listening on the podcast, sorry, the cat jumped up on the table, and sorry about that. Go ahead.
That's hilarious. No, you're fine. Personally, I don't know if I necessarily have an advantage, because I feel like I've created where I am, why I am, hardworking. I got that from my father. And I don't think I have an advantage. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if anybody else thought I did.
That sounds good. Yeah. That was a good one. Yeah. So what's the best advice you've ever received?
When I'm overwhelmed, I constantly, to this day, and I've had this since I was a little kid, have heard my mother's voice of just breathe. How ironic now that I'm a headspacer, right? Breathe. Hey, it's all about breathing. And just take one thing at a time and do the best you can.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
Do you have something that's working for you right now? An app, exercise. Well, you kind of talked about the app is the Headspace, but a vitamin or some work hack or time saver kind of a thing?
Definitely the Headspace. I'd say the new challenges that I'm doing right now with a few of my friends just to stay active. I started fish oil. I don't know if I can see a result, but I'm down a bottle, literally threw a bottle out today. So do I look shinier today?
You do. Yes. You look great. Yeah. Yeah. No, but that's for your brain, right?
Yeah.
It's like your brain stuff. Yeah. It's funny. I've been doing the same thing. I've been doing the same thing. Yeah. And I don't know either.
I don't know either, but I'm doing it. Give it a try. Take my vitamins, I guess, is what I'm doing.
Perfect. What's your favorite industry event? Because you go to a lot of them, right?
I do go to a lot of them. I think my favorite is actually the FICP.
I've heard that too, and I've never been. FICP.
FICP, so Financial and Insurance Conference Planners. Now, it's really hard to get into on the supplier side, as they call it, hospitality partners. But when you're there, it's smaller, it's more intimate. You're able to build the relationships, I think, a little better. Like, I love the big industry events. Don't get me wrong. PCMA Comedian Leaders, WEC, all of those are fun, but you get lost. You know what I mean? Like, even it'll be interesting to see how Collinson's Collaborate, Connect, and Sports and Associate, all that combines this year, because it's getting as big as those other two that I mentioned. But the other one I love is the CNP Conclave. I've only been twice having my CNP, which, by the way, got renewed, got my first renewal. So I'm 5 years in.
Nice.
So CNP Conclave is another one of my favorites.
I've been to that a couple of times.
The New Orleans 2 years ago was really good. Last year, I was a little disappointed in what they did in Reno, but I honestly maybe wonder if it's because I was sick the entire time. Oh. Had a cold, so.
Yeah, all the motorcycle guys were there. It was like a big motorcycle rally going on. It was kind of funny.
That was fine. I felt like, now that I'm on the AV side of it, it's funny, the things that I notice and pick out. A little disappointed in some of the technology that they had. Oh,
well, we were talking about that there. You and I, weren't we?
Yes,
I have a feeling right. we were. Yes, we were.
That's when I met John, and you and I and John were tweeting. Well,
I was sitting at a table with Julius and Brant Kruger.
Yep.
We were all like amazed. Absolutely. But I've been talking to them actually recently about that, about that whole thing. I'm doing some video work for them right now, but cool. But I like that conference too because it's small.
Yes,
that one. So what's the coolest new trend you have seen or excited about? Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't really know if I don't get that excited about new things. Is that a bad answer? I'm going to go with that answer.
Well, I kind of think that I'm going to maybe pull that question because it sounds kind of hokey, like trend. Like, I don't really I don't know. Trends too, to me, are like, okay, well, what's new? It should just be, have you seen anything new and cool? You know,
I mean,
but being in the AV space and production space, you must be now probably say, hey, they probably tell you, hey, Jamie, push this. Now we're doing this.
Absolutely.
We can do this now. So what are you guys doing now that's cool?
In my opinion, definitely the LED wall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've had it for a couple of years now. So just having that extra push to it, you know, different look and feel. But also we did a show out in Vegas, and we partnered with a company out in New York for the actual software.
Mm-hmm.
But basically extensive project mapping. Projection mapping. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was very cool. Now, granted, I wasn't there to see it live, but seeing all the video work, very cool.
Yeah, that's really fun. And actually, that's cool. I mean, I've done a lot of that kind of stuff in the past, not just recently, but in the past, we've done a lot of projection mapping. And you guys are at a very good advantage of having your own equipment and stuff to you can actually do, come up with cool stuff and test it. And
I think that's why with that question, it's not new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not really new. It comes out when the client needs it.
Mm-hmm.
Or when it behooves someone to have it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not cheap, that's for sure.
Yeah. So if you could talk to the high school senior you, what would you tell yourself?
Breathe and relax. Calm it down, Smith. Calm it down. Just, you don't have to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And perfection is... even if I told myself that, I would not hear it. You have to constantly go through it yourself to learn it. And I think just things that happen to you in your life help you to figure out where you need to be. But yeah, breathe.
Yeah.
Relax.
No, I agree. I've asked this question now a whole bunch of times to people, and I keep waiting for someone to say, oh, I would have bought Apple stock and, just all the stocks and stuff. I would tell myself to buy Google, Apple.
Right. See, it's funny. Before Google got big, when I was at IYI, there was one of our outsourced technology, IT guys that came in and helped me with a few things. And I remember him talking about Google, and I was like, what's Google? Right?
Yeah.
Why didn't we jump on that bandwagon back in the day?
No, and I live right in the middle of it all here in the Bay Area. And it's still because when I first started in this business, it was because of the .com thing. We were flying all over and huge shows, and it was madness. But a lot of those people too went up and came down too. So
that's true. I mean,
everything else. All right, Jamie. So where can people get a hold of you?
Email is the best way. Jamie, and that like the Bionic Woman, Lindsay Wagner, JAIME @Bartha.com, or myself. Do you want me to give it?
Sure, if you want.
Sure. All right. 317-697-6158.
Cool. All right. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And we'll have to have you back again sometime. Maybe we'll do a topic next time. Maybe we can pull out something and talk about a topic. That might be fun.
That'd be very fun.
All right. Well, thank you again, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. That was fun to talk to her, always. And I wanted to thank again IMEX America. I also wanted to thank Audible.com for sponsoring the show. You can get a free audiobook download, as I said earlier, and the link is audibletrial.com/meetings podcast. Pretty easy to remember. And also wanted to, again, talk a little bit about the podcasting for events that we've started doing. Check it out. Go on over to the grashshackroad.com website. If you have any questions, go ahead and hit me up. Also, if you could do me a favor and head over to the iTunes store and leave a review, that would be fantastic. It really helps us to get found, and I appreciate all of you that have been doing that. And have a great day. I really appreciate you listening, and I will see you next time.
We appreciate and thank you for listening to the Meetings Podcast. Please email with any questions or comments to meetingspodcast@gmail.com. Meetings Podcast is sponsored by IMEX America, America's worldwide exhibition for incentive travel, meetings, and events. The Meetings Podcast theme music is brought to you by the Delgado Brothers, which can be found at delgadobrothers.com.